want to speak about the Jewish critique of the New Testament. You see, you're looking back 2,000 years. Luke wasn't looking back 2,000 years, and he was a professional historian. So be careful before you question his dating or his chronology of the narrative in Luke chapter 2. Because, look, I'm not going to mix up Teddy Roosevelt and Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was president when I was born. I'm not going to mix those two guys up because I was a contemporary. Listen, Luke was a contemporary. The Jewish-Roman War, the first Jewish-Roman War, which started 66 and went, I think, to 73. He was alive then. In fact, he was doing his most important work at that time. And he is aware of a census that is also chronicled by Josephus. And it's mentioned in the book of Acts, chapter 5, verse 37. Let me just read it from the Orthodox Jewish Bible. Acts chapter 5, verse 37. After this, there was Yehuda. He's the Galilean in the days of the census. Now, notice, Luke is aware of this census. He's aware that this man, he actually had an armed resistance because of a particular census. And this man, you might say he was a founder of the Zealots, because these were the ones that eventually got the Jewish people into that war, the first Jewish-Roman War in 66 to 73. And when Luke is talking about Quirinius in Luke chapter 2, he's actually aware of what he's going to write in Acts chapter 5, verse 37. And the original language can be translated, this was before that later census, in other words. Also, it doesn't actually have to be translated while he was governor. It can mean while he was ruling, in whatever capacity he was ruling. He's trying to show you that when Caesar Augustus made this decree forcing Joseph ben David to go back to Bethlehem, that this was God actually orchestrating it, and that this former census, this was before. He's talking about before the later census that I'm going to talk about in Acts chapter 5, verse 37. And you got to go back to 1 Chronicles chapter 3, and here you see that born to David in chapter 3, verse 5 are not just Shlomo or Solomon, but Natan or Nathan. Now, do you honestly believe that Miriam didn't know her genealogy? Do you honestly believe that Joseph ben David didn't know his genealogy? Do you honestly believe that these people didn't know that they could trace their ancestry all the way back? It's not an accident, friend, that I can trace my ancestry all the way back to Thomas Goebel at the time of the Mayflower, 11 generations back. This was very carefully preserved by 11 generations of my grandfathers, going back my grandfather Nicholas Goebel and going all the way back my great 11 greats to Thomas Goebel. Now, if a little schlemiel like me from Oakland City, Indiana, knows my genealogy, do you honestly think that Miriam didn't know hers, or that Joseph ben David didn't know his? Do you honestly think that Luke is in error in chapter 3 when he gives you the genealogy that goes back to Nathan or Nathan? And do you honestly think that Matthew doesn't know what he's talking about when he gives you Joseph ben David's genealogy that goes back to Shlomo? Both of these individuals are actually recorded in 1 Chronicles chapter 3, verse 5. Now, you see, God was orchestrating all this, that a virgin